set up your goals, and then make sure you accomplish those goals by putting all your written documents into place and coming up with a plan. So that way you can focus on your business succeeding or failing on its own merits and not have to worry about technicalities.
Hi, Matthew. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Terry. Thanks for having me.
So let's start with what made you decide to become a lawyer? How did you get into this?
Well, growing up, I kind of always knew I wanted to be a lawyer because like legal shows and stuff fascinated me, but like not like Law and Order type legal shows, but like the People's Court and stuff like that.
Oh, cool.
And I always knew I wanted to be an attorney. I went to undergrad and I did political science, which is only good to be either an attorney or a politician. So then I went to law school and, just studied general law stuff. I actually got a certificate in intellectual property law. And then when I
Nice.
came out of law school, I started working for a boutique law firm doing commercial litigation. And then from there, I wanted to try out some big law firms. So I went to two Am Law 200 law firms. And then I kind of got bored with that. And so it's like, so I had the opportunity to actually go to one of the 10 biggest law firms in the world. Or
Wow.
not. So I actually choose not. And I formed my own law firm, and I wanted to focus my skill set and my skills on helping small and medium-sized businesses, because growing up, my dad had a small business and I saw the issues that he dealt with like, like his attorney was okay, but he wasn't like suited to helping small businesses. So I wanted to kind of fill that niche, and that's how I got here.
Wow. And what was that transition like for you from working for these big law firms to then starting your own firm?
Transition, I mean, it's not, it's first of all, I had to learn everything about business to start my own business because I knew nothing about business at the time.
Right.
So that's why I have more empathy towards my clients now, because I understand what they're going through. But the biggest learning curve is, instead of having money show up in my bank account every 2 weeks, it's either I work and I make money, or I don't and I don't make money. So it was just putting together, the business, putting together all the stuff that goes with the business, just executing on it, which took some time, particularly because, like I said, I didn't know anything about business, but now I do. So it's been smoother every year. The revenue's gone up, which is good, including COVID. So,
Yeah.
it's good now, but starting out, I'm not going to lie, I'm not going to say it's pretty rough, but it was challenging.
Yeah. What were some of those challenges that you had to overcome, and how did you do it? How did you get through that initial startup phase?
Sure. One of the challenges was just, figuring out, generally speaking, what to do. Like, am I going to be an S Corp? Am I going to be an LLC? I need to have a written business plan that I didn't have in place. I need to figure out who like my bankers are, my accountant is, and just general startup things before we even get to the legal part of being an attorney. So it's all the background stuff and all the setup stuff is what I had the biggest issues with. Being an attorney was fine because I've been doing it for years at that point, and that was probably the easiest part, was actually doing the job. It was setting up and doing the back office stuff and setting up the business. That was the hard part.
Right. And I think so many business owners listening to this can identify with that right now, because we train to do what we do in our businesses, but we don't necessarily know how to run a business when we start out. And so I think that that's something a lot of the listeners can identify with, is maybe they went to school to be an esthetician, for example, and now they have their own salon and they don't know how to run the salon. And so that's, I think, a very common problem that business owners face.
Yeah, definitely is. I mean, they're good at doing their thing. They're just not experienced enough, or they haven't done, the business side of it yet. And that's what the issue is.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. During that, when you were starting out your own firm, was there any point that you regretted it, or you thought, what am I doing? This isn't going to work. Did you have any doubts like that?
There weren't like any points where I'm like, oh, gotta go back, see if I can get my old job, or see if I can get that job that I was offered, at the other firm. No, but there's always reflective points throughout,
Hmm.
even up until this point of like, what, not just what am I doing in like the metaphysical sense of, why am I here, what I'm doing, but just like literally, what am I doing? Like, am I doing this correctly? Am I doing that correctly? What could I be doing better? What could I be learning to do better? Who do I need to consult to be doing better? So there's always like an introspection in, for at least me running my own business. Is I'm never complacent with where I am, even though, I may be, wherever at some place or whatever. But I always am introspective and trying to figure out what I can do better and what, if I made a mistake in the past, how not to repeat it and things like that.
Great. And what are, when you're working with small business owners, what are some of the mistakes that you see them make?
One of the main mistakes with small business owners is that they're very eager to get into business and they just want to do it. So a lot of their due diligence and background support stuff, they kind of skip and they just get into doing the business. Like here, for instance, I'm in Florida. Obviously, here in Canada, some things are similar, some things are different. But like for
Yeah.
Florida, you can form a corporation or an LLC, whatever, by going to our Secretary of State's page and just filling out the paperwork, issuing the payment, hitting enter, and under 10 minutes, you've got a business organization. The
Wow.
problem is that's the bare minimum of what you need. And there's a whole bunch of stuff that goes into that a lot of people just skip over and don't do. For instance, like I was talking about the written business plan. They
Hmm.
don't have a written business plan. So that's a problem because the written business plan kind of makes you think out what you're going to do with your business, makes you plan out what you're going to do, makes you have to make a lot of choices and a lot of decisions and a lot of planning things. And then they also skip the governing documents. Like if they're a corporation, they skip having bylaws or articles of incorporation, or if they're an LLC, they skip having membership um, agreement and they just kind of jump into business. So the problem is that's a very, I don't want to say weak foundation, but it's a very shaky foundation because very soon down the line, or maybe a little bit down the line, you're going to need those documents. And if you don't have them, it's a lot harder you can fix it and do them after the fact, but it's a lot easier if you have them starting out with. So that's probably the biggest issue that small businesses face, is that they look before they leap and they get into business too quickly without doing the due diligence in the background.
Okay, good to know. What would you advise a new business do to set themselves up correctly right from the start?
I would recommend that the new business go seek out like a business law attorney and seek out an accountant to make sure that everything they're doing conceptually is correct and that they're set up correctly. Like from my perspective, it's the business law attorney to make sure it's the correct legal entity and then all the documents that go with it. From the accountant's perspective, you want to make sure from a money standpoint, you're the right legal entity so that you don't get killed on your taxes at the end of the year, or, you don't have revenue problems or things like that. So, my advice is, you're getting into business. This isn't a hobby. It's like a full-time thing. This is your life. You need to invest in having professionals to help you do certain tasks that you really shouldn't be doing yourself. You should be focused on your business and making it successful. And you should have professionals that worry about, well, are you legally compliant? Are you financially compliant? And things like that.
Right. I think in Canada, I don't even think you can incorporate until you have a lawyer. Like you have to go through an attorney in order to even start the process. So a little different here. At least my understanding of it is you have to go
Um,
through a lawyer and an accountant to even set it up from the beginning. But what about those business owners who maybe didn't do that and they haven't set themselves up and now they're listening to this and they're thinking, like, what do I do now that I don't have all those documents in place?
Yeah, you can always put those documents in place. I mean, you're not precluded from forever doing it if you don't do it initially. It's just a lot better if you do it initially. So if you're midstream in business, you can finally put together your documents after the fact. I mean, it's not going to be, it would have been more effective if you did at the beginning, but it's not going to be problematic. You just, figure out what you're doing, how you're doing it, and then put it into your governing documents, put it into your business plan. and then you can implement it along the way, and then just make sure from that point on you comply with the documents, comply with the business plan.
Okay, so we can fix it.
Yeah, it's fixable.
It's not, we haven't ruined the business by doing that.
Correct.
Good to
Correct.
know. How about for sole proprietors? Is it, is there a difference there in terms of how we're setting things up or how we're running things in the legal aspect?
Sure. So I'll speak towards US, not Canada.
For sure.
But so for the US, if you're a sole proprietor, it just means you're you. So you don't have the benefits of a business organization for protection purposes from liability or from financial issues or anything like that. It's you. So you can either do business in your name or you can do business under a DBA. So a lot of people who do sole proprietorships do business under a DBA, which is, again, you go to in your state, your Secretary of State website, you just register your DBA. So it'd be like Matthew Fornaro doing business as whatever, as opposed to just me by myself. And then you can set up anything you want in the DBA's name. The only thing is that the DBA is just an alias for you. So you're going to
Right.
have individual liability. You're going to have individual taxes. You're going to have, solo type things that you're going to have to be responsible with. Where if you did that as a business organization, you wouldn't have those responsibilities. But sometimes people like sole proprietorships and they do it. So my advice to them is to make sure, you comply, you get a DBA, and then make sure you just have a lot of great contracts in order to try to mitigate as much personal liability as you can.
Okay. And at what point should a sole proprietor think about taking that next step and incorporating, becoming an LLC or something like that? At what point should they make that transition?
Well, yeah, you can make the transition. You can switch business organizations or implement a business organization at any time. If you started out as a sole proprietorship, I mean, I would say as soon as possible, get
Mm.
behind a business organization, because the whole point is the protection of the business organization from individual liability and individual tax consequences. So I would say sooner than later, but if for whatever reason you want to be a sole proprietor and start going along, I mean, just reevaluate as you go, because the more deals you get into, the more complex your business becomes, the more transactions you're in, the more individual liability you're exposing yourself to, which is not great.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. How does how does legal planning impact the growth of a business overall?
Well, legal planning is along with like planning with an accountant and maybe planning with a banker or another professional like that, is part of, the projected growth of a business. And obviously it's a easier factor to predict where you're going to be if you have the correct legal formation in place, the correct legal documents in place, the correct legal procedures in place, rather than just leave it to chance. And then you kind of match that against your actual business performance and what you're doing with your business. And you're better able to, I don't want to say predict, but you're better able to anticipate what's going to happen rather than just kind of shooting from the hip and seeing what happens.
Okay. Okay, good to know. Now, what would you say are one or two steps that you would like to see small business owners making to help protect themselves more, or to, anyone listening to this, like what are one or two things they should really be doing right now, um, help protect their businesses?
Make and get into as many contracts as possible regarding your business, and make sure that they're robust contracts that have all the provisions that are necessary in a contract for dispute resolution, venue, attorney's fees provisions, things like that. Because a lot of these businesses and a lot of startup businesses just kind of operate with not even a handshake. It's just like, you want to buy, 10 widgets from me. Okay, that's great. You sent me an email, you're going to buy it. I send you 10 widgets and then I send you an invoice. Well, we don't have a contract. We have, you wanted 10, I sent you 10, I sent you a bill for 10, and hopefully you pay me. So you can very easily convert that into a situation with a contract where if you place an order with me, you have to do like my online terms of service and all things like that, where you don't even have to write a contract order. We just click off and do like DocuSign. And then at the same time, I'm obligated to provide you with like the 10 widgets or whatever. If I don't do it, the contract is going to say what our remedies are as far as I don't do it, you don't do it, both of us don't do it, what we do to resolve it. So it's a lot easier when we have the contract in place than if you're just doing things, with an invoice or doing things based on, a telephone order or an email or something like that. So it's very easy to just integrate contracts into all parts of your business. So that would be my advice, is to make sure you put a contract in for all aspects of your business and all dealings with third parties. And again, it's not, like onerous or anything like that. It's just, you make it very easy. You make it click here, and accept these terms, and that's it.
Yeah, that's great advice. I have to say, I have contracts for every aspect of my business now because I've learned the hard way. And I think that's how a lot of us do it, is we make mistakes and then remedy those mistakes. And I think that for anyone listening today, this is really valuable advice to set things up correctly the first time so that we don't have to backtrack and learn those hard mistakes.
No, definitely.
Now, I have some rapid fire questions for you as well, if you're game
Sure.
for that. What's your favorite book?
My favorite book is probably, it's a good question. My favorite book would be probably one of Dale Carnegie's books. I can't pick which one. I would say probably
Thanks.
Stop Worrying and Start Living would probably be my favorite book.
Great choice. Favorite food?
Favorite food is all day, everyday pizza.
Yeah, good choice. What's your biggest pet peeve?
My biggest pet peeve is lack of courtesy and decorum in professional and personal settings.
Good one. What are 3 things you take with you to a deserted island?
3 things I take with me to a deserted island. All right, let's assume that there's a power supply on this island.
Sure,
Right?
yeah.
So I would bring with me a Marsat satellite system, so I'm connected to the internet
Nice.
at all times. I'd bring like a laptop or something to be connected to the internet. I would bring probably, let's say I could have an unlimited supply. I would have an unlimited supply of McDonald's orange juice.
Okay.
Yes, my favorite drink is orange juice. My favorite drink of all time is McDonald's orange juice.
Wow.
And then for a third thing, if we're going to count the whole internet thing separate in the orange juice, I
Sure.
would say just a phone to call and talk to people. Even not about being rescued, but just to keep in touch.
Nice. That's awesome. Who's a celebrity you'd like to have dinner with, dead or alive?
I would definitely like to have dinner with John Wayne. He's one of my
Yeah.
favorite Hollywood stars. He's like old school Hollywood, very interesting American, like pro-American, very, that whole era is gone, particularly in this political environment. So
Yeah.
I'd love to have dinner with him and just discuss, fashion values and all about his career and everything like that.
And what is your go-to karaoke song?
My go-to karaoke song is I'm able to imitate like a very deep voice. So it's not like I'm singing. It's like I go to it. So I can convincingly seem like I sing like any Creed song. So I can go do like probably My Own Prison by Creed. And I can do it very convincingly without having to sing, because I just drop my voice and try to sound like Scott Stapp.
Wow, that's really cool.
Yeah.
Now, a previous guest, Glenn Van Pesky, he passed along this question for you. He would like to know, who is someone you could write a handwritten note to today that could impact their life?
I would probably say not just one person, but probably a group of like my clients or people who I do I do instruction for the Kauffman Institute and for Florida State University's Jim Moran program. So I'd probably say if I sent any one of them like a handwritten note about, believing in yourself, doing business or whatever, it would probably positively affect them, I would think, hopefully.
Yeah, absolutely. And what's a question you would like to pass on to the next guest without knowing who they are?
But knowing who they are, what do you do to properly divide work from personal life and make sure they don't overlap?
Oh, that's a great question. I love that one. Just out of curiosity, what do you do for that?
I due to the fact that I work for myself, I'm able to essentially work whenever I want. So, I mean, I can work never or I can work 24 hours a day. So I just come up with a balance where, if I don't work on a Friday, I don't work on a Friday, and instead I'll work on like a Saturday, but I won't like be working hard on a Saturday. Like I'll have on my systems because I have multiple monitors. Like I'll have college football on, or I'm able to
Mm,
do work then while I'm watching college football. So, I just make sure when it's time to shut down, I shut down the emails, I shut down all the stuff, and then I go spend time with my family or, relax or whatever. And then when it's go time, I just turn everything back on and it's go time.
nice. Yeah, I think that's such a common battle that so many entrepreneurs deal with is, as you said, we can work whenever we want or not work whenever we want, and making sure that we have that discipline to work when we need to and still balancing the family life. And it sounds like you do that really well.
Yeah.
What are some
Well, I
final
especially did it
oh, yeah.
yesterday for Thanksgiving.
Oh yeah, that's right.
It's a big family day. I was 100% family yesterday.
Nice. That's fantastic. And what are some final thoughts you'd like to pass on to the listeners?
Just for small business owners, I mean, one, you have to believe in yourself. Don't listen to any naysayers or whatever. Set up your goals and then make sure you accomplish those goals by putting, like we talked about, all your written documents into place and coming up with a plan. So that way you can focus on your business succeeding or failing on its own merits and not have to worry about technicalities.
Thank you so much for coming on today. All of your links will be in the show notes so they can easily follow up and learn more about you. I really appreciate you being here today.
Thank you, Terry. It was fun to be here.